Hey, what's going on, guys? Nate here, back again with another episode of the PokeTalk podcast. I'm, of course, here with Phillip once again. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's going on? What's going on? A lot of big news this past last episode.
Yeah, so we actually had a topic kind of planned out, but with Worlds wrapping up, we decided to go with that. So this episode's going to be kind of takeaways from Worlds. For people who don't know, Worlds was just held in London last weekend. And with that, we got some announcements on the TCG, the return of the EXs, a couple glimpses of those cards. And yeah, we're going to be talking all about it.
Mm-hmm. And I also just wanted to say I got really lucky. And I won. I was one of the winners in the lottery for the Japanese Pokemon Center for a MSRP Eevee Heroes box.
Nice.
Yeah, just wanted to brag about that a little bit because it's for $41. I got it for.
Well, and that gives you some peace of mind too, being through the Pokemon Center, because a lot of those boxes, I've heard there's some problems with people resealing them now, and like rumors, or I don't know how true it is, but some decently reliable sources were saying that they were kind of checking receipts at some TCG shops, like local stores, to see if they're shipping them overseas for marked up prices. So yeah, they're seem to be cracking down, and with that, there's a lot of fake boxes out there.
Yeah. I
TC,
actually want to say
yeah,
I was charged. I haven't received an email that I won yet, but I was charged the full amount. So I wouldn't be charged the full amount if I didn't win, right? You would
yeah,
think.
I don't think
It's
so.
just like I've been checking Tenzo like every day, and there hasn't been anything sent to Tenzo regarding like, hey, we got a package for you, pay your shipping, blah blah blah. So I assume I won it because I was charged to my bank account, and they wouldn't charge. Usually they take a hold, it's like $1, but they didn't do that. It was $41.
Hmm.
So I'm like 99% sure I won it. So
So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
yeah, for sure. But yeah,
Yeah,
that makes me kind of anxious now with because eBay's where before I got my Tenzo account, that's where I bought most of my Japanese products. I just got sick and tired of paying 3 times MSRP for a booster box.
yeah, and it was TCA Gaming that I was watching last week, and he actually got some resealed boxes too. And it's kind of crazy. Like, I was actually watching a stream. I think it was last Tuesday, not this past Tuesday, but the Tuesday before. And yeah, he had like 40 plus packs where there's like no hollow or something.
Well, did he buy individual packs or did he buy a booster box?
No, it was booster box, and he's
Uh,
buying cases, and he got them from a store in Japan, but that store could have bought product off people. Who knows? So,
yeah.
but yeah, if you're getting it through the Pokemon Center, then that's pretty much the most legit way. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, in other news, we, of course, everyone's probably heard of the eBay acquisition of TCG Player. That's going to be the big talk of the news this time around. And there are pretty much all the leaks for Incandescent Arcana, which is a set coming out in Japan. It's going to be our Silver Tempest November set, and it's going to feature some cards that were cut from Lost Origin as well. And first off, about Silver Tempest, it's apparently the return of Lugia. He's on the pack art, but guess who's on the ETB art? It's the Alolan Vulpix. So, what do you think of that? It's kind of an interesting choice.
Yeah, I noticed that too. That was my first thought. Like, usually they do a fully evolved Pokemon or like a legendary, right?
Yeah,
Um,
or like a
and
cool Pokemon, which Alolan Vulpix
yeah,
is cool, but it's not what you think of being like a mascot for a product.
n- no. It's I thought it's kind of interesting, but what that says right there is their confidence in the markability of Alohan Vulpix. They're confident that a lot of people are like, oh, that's so cute, that's adorable, no humble pixel, like a
Uh
little
huh.
dog cat thing. I mean, it's a fox, so I guess it's more of like a dog, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, I guess they have confidence in the marketability of that Pokemon. And honestly, I mean, it's probably gonna sell. I mean, just like every other set the last 2 years.
Yeah. It yeah, it makes sense. I'd like to see them do it more because I think it's cool. Equal
Mm.
representation across all Pokemon. And yeah, it's just cool that they're changing it up a little bit. One thing that is weird that it's like a return of Lugia, and we're not seeing Lugia on the box, but
It's got to be an
yeah,
alt art or something. Maybe
yeah,
not an alt art,
it's
but
just
like,
weird. Like Lugia seems to get the shaft. We haven't had like a Neo reprint while we have like 20,000 Charizards.
and that is upsetting because can you imagine a Neo Destiny, some of the shiny reprints with alt arts or some sort of modern variation? I think it could do an amazing, amazing job. And Neo is it's not the forgotten stepchild of WotC. I'm not going to say that. I would say that's probably your EX or not EX, but like your Sandstorm or your Expedition. Sandstorm I think was after WotC, wasn't it? But yeah,
Yeah, Expedition or
your
Sandstorm
yeah
was right after WotC.
yeah you have your Expedition, you have your Sky Ridge. I feel like those are kind of sometimes in terms of like what gets the most attention. Um, but you're right. Like Neo just gets kind of forgotten, honestly. And when it comes to these reprints, it's all about
Yeah.
base set.
Like, why didn't the Celebration set have like Shining Gyarados or Lugia from the Neo sets?
Yeah, they went with the Umbreon with the gold star, so I get that, I do. But they could have just gone with the Umbreon with the Neo, or
Which Umbreon Gold Star, yeah, is cool, but that was EX era. It wasn't even
yeah,
Neo era technically. So
no, yeah, that's what I was saying. Like it would have been cool if they went with an Umbreon from the Neo era, but they didn't even do that.
yeah, just some weird choices. And when you have nearly 1,000 Pokemon, how you gonna choose? But
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty much all we wanted to say on that. There is a very cool Alakazam, a Radiant
hmm
Alakazam, and this is my favorite of the Radiant cards by far. It looks really clean. I'm definitely gonna have to pick that one up. And on a side note to that, if anyone knows the story behind Uri Geller and the Kadabra and why Kadabra hasn't been printed in TCG, there's some stuff out there that apparently he has been hinting that Kadabra is going to be printed. Um, so that's a little interesting.
Yeah.
I personally
Could
don't
even
care for the guy. I think he just craves attention, and he's probably
yeah.
just saying that.
He's doing this because I'm sure Pokemon gave him a bunch of money, gave him a contract even. Like, if you let us print this card, we'll give you like $1 million for the rest of your life or something like that. I'm
I
sure
think
it's
it
something like
was.
that.
I think it was mostly him too, because like he.
It was a copyright thing, is what it was. It was like because they were using Kadabra, like that was a part of his shtick. And
Yeah, but he like kind of made it a big deal, and then like nowadays he's like he came out and said he's like almost regretted that decision. So he's kind of had like so much backlash, and now Pokemon's bigger than ever. So I'm sure he wish he would have gotten that recognition, but he probably I wouldn't doubt if there wasn't any communication between them at all. I'm sure Pokemon doesn't want to touch him with a 20-foot pole, and he probably just
no,
saw an Alakazam come out in Incandescent Arcana, and he's like, "Hey, look at me, get some attention over here." So I wouldn't be surprised if it was something like that.
yeah,
But he's
definitely
always
could be.
seemed to like kind of pop up in the spotlight here and there.
Yeah, Kamiya has a card also in this set, and it's a very unique looking Jinx.
Yeah, I saw that. Pretty cool.
Very, yeah, it's like what is it like? It's almost like a rip in time almost, or I don't know. It's very trippy. This one is, and he has he has several Jinx artwork, like 3 or 4, I think at least. He just gets stuck with that Pokemon, I guess.
All right. Well, let's
Yeah.
go ahead and check out the eBay news. This is our big topic. So, yeah, pretty much eBay has acquired TCG Player. So pretty nuts. What you think? What's your first thought when you heard that news?
Well, I think everybody's first thought was Monopoly. I think that was everybody's initial thoughts regarding it, and I figured they'd probably let them stay independent and without reading anything. Like I heard the news before I read any sort of email or any sort of announcement. It was like just a headline, and that's all I saw before I dug into it. But it does look like TC Play will remain independently of eBay, but they're going to obviously integrate some sort of eBay services or functionality, capabilities, whatever, into TCG Player. And
Yeah.
honestly, I think that's good for TCG Player because there are a lot of things that maybe not want to use TCG Player, but there was also a lot of things that make TCG Player awesome.
I feel like the people who like TCG Player, like they'll live and die on the TCG Player hill. It's
There's a
like
lot of,
they
I mean,
just
and
say
it's
go off TCG Player prices, and you tell them like, oh, how about eBay recent solds, and they're like, oh no, I don't go by that.
yeah.
So
I mean, you got to go by whichever platform you're buying from, and even if they are independent, which it looks like they will be, they still are going to be obviously equal but separate, if that makes sense.
yeah,
So obviously the money is going to be going to the same place. However, depending, I think TCG players' fees are not too far off from eBay. It's like eBay is like 12.57% or something like that. I want to say TCG Player was just a little bit lower than that, but I've never sold on TCG Player. I haven't looked at it of late. But one great thing about TCG Player was you could order from 30 different sellers at a touch of a button. So, I mean, technically, you can do that with eBay, right?
yeah,
But you can literally just go through like an entire set and like near mint, add. The only drawback with TCG Player doing that was you're kind of trusting their faith on near mint, and while TCG Player has like a directory of part what's classified as near mint, I think we both can agree that it's highly subjective about what people consider near mint.
yeah.
Uh,
All those sites like Troll and Toad. I mean, they've even like so much has to like updated their standings. Like things could be near mint and straight up have like dings.
yeah,
So it's like I don't know.
that's not my
They reworded
classification,
it.
but hmm and like PSA 7 is technically, for example, it's technically near mint, and that can have hollow scratches, that can have whitening on the corners. I mean, it can have all of that and still be a 7 and still be classified as near mint. I had an issue with uh, TCG Player once buying a bunch of have Alexas, and I went with near mint, and some of them were from some good places. One of them was Troll and Toad, and while technically they were considered near mint, they were on the cusp of being near mint because there was dents like and like noticeable scratching even on like the back
Yeah.
of one of the Hevel X's I bought. I think I sent all of them, but like two back. It was the Hevel X. No, I can't remember which two I didn't send back, but it was two of them. I think it was a Darkrai one, and it was one other one. I want to say it was the Mewtwo that I didn't send back, but I would have to look at my collection. I haven't looked at my level X's in a while, so.
Yeah. Well,
But
it doesn't matter which one it is, but the
yeah,
condition wise.
yeah. But anyways, the whole point was I was frustrated because then I had to initiate the whole process of sending everything back. And while it is easy, it is pretty seamless. It's still frustrating to, like, for example, you drop $500 and you get everything, and you're sending back $400 worth of cards.
Yeah. Yeah, it is frustrating. When I build sets, like that's pretty much the only time I'm on there. And I'll try to do like mint or near mint, but I only do like near mint on like the uncommons and commons, non
Yeah,
hollows or stuff like
and
that.
those are pretty good. But if you ever do, don't ever buy near mint from Troll and Toad, any of those places, without being able to see the photo. That was the lesson I learned. And going forth, I'm willing to spend an extra 10% on, or whatever I might have to spend on eBay just to get the better quality card. Obviously, it will incorporate more time. But, getting back to the actual center of the discussion, I feel like we got a little sidetracked there. But um, I do think, as a whole, this is great for TCG players. Some things that they do amazing is including the market price of a card and being able to gauge accordingly not only the value of your collection, but what to expect when you're attempting to sell your products or your
Mm,
cards. And I think that is an amazing function that a lot of people, as you mentioned, even within the hobby, live and die by when evaluating the market price of a card. And I think that's something that eBay could even incorporate potentially into their user interface that would add a increased layer of knowledge, of understanding of specific cards within the hobby, especially when you have no idea and you're trying to research the cards you have and gauge the value.
yeah.
I think yeah.
Yeah, they got some good stuff on there. Hopefully, they merge and they introduce some things like that are good on eBay, like the eBay envelope or certified envelope. I can't remember what it's called, but it's a
Yeah.
really cheap way to, ship stuff. And yeah, I'm sure that's what they'll do. Just incorporate the best of both worlds. Because things are going to change, even though they say they're not.
There
Um,
will be. Yeah.
when there's giant increases in the market and giant declines in the market, a lot of things shift around. And just think of it this way: it's like it's a no-brain play. A lot of people just say, they just see the money, and then they're like, "Oh wow, it's going to take them a long time to make that back." I'm sure TCG players profitable. How profitable? How many years will it take to get it back? But there's like just so much more to that. Like, eBay has like their HR department. TCG Player has an HR department. They can combine those, maybe trim down, combine under one. There's an entire HR department shaved off the value of the new company. So it's stuff like that that really makes the difference. So, I mean, I'd hate to, see the insides of the companies, but I'm sure maybe people's jobs might get shifted around. They're going to consolidate a lot of stuff where they can, such as like oversight departments or the managerial areas. You don't really need a big wig of both companies. You can maybe have a big wig of both companies' departments, many layers. But yeah, stuff like that is going to be really trimmed down, incorporate maybe the same company policy. They just get really good value out the gate. They may have paid, what was it, 300 million or something.
Like 297 or something like that. Yeah, it was essentially 300 million.
Yeah, they probably bought it 300 million, and stuff they trimmed down. They could trim it down 50 million pretty easily, cutting off the excess stuff they don't need. So yeah, overall, like business standpoint, it's a
I don't see them
very smart
downsizing
move.
that much though, but I don't see them downsizing that much essentially. Yeah, they can integrate certain services, but you're also expanding services, so
I don't mean
you need
downsizing like services. I just mean like
no,
downsizing
people, workers, right?
unnecessary things. Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
think
then
that happens a little bit like there's more integration, but I expect one of the first things that they'll integrate is um forcing photos for every sort of at least every sort of hollow, maybe every sort of sale. That's something that could increase um, sales because there's a lot of instances where I think there's sellers or what have you, a TCG player where they don't fully realize the value of their cards and sell these cards because there's no photos to who go off. They don't. These sellers are a lot of these sellers in TCG player. Yeah, there's big card shops, but there's also a lot of these people that you know I don't know, living in their mom's basement or something, and like they're just they don't feel like doing anything. They just like, oh, I got this card, it's near mint, blah blah blah, buy it for me. And yeah, they're rated low, right, on TCG Player or whatever. But ultimately, people do buy those cards, and it adds to frustration within those that site and within that use. And I think one of the easiest things to enhance sales and integration and user interface, user experience satisfaction is including photos. And even honestly, let's be honest, the TCG player site could use a facelift.
Yeah. I think the photo thing would need like a culture change. Like, I don't think they could force it. You know, people could upload just the shitty photos on eBay if they wanted to, but it's kind of the eBay culture where like the more photos you have, the better. Like with eBay, it's like honesty goes a long way. If you're really
Mm-hmm.
honest and include the photos, people will buy all ranges of cards and they're just wanting to find what they're looking for. So if you label it highly played, there's plenty of people looking for highly played cards because they can't afford the other ones.
Yeah.
And what really shines on eBay is like people have just been in this mindset to just show as many photos and angles as possible. So
Mm-hmm.
I think
Because
it'd have to be
all
like a culture change, you know. I don't know
yeah,
if
because
that'll happen.
well, I think there's ways to also make it to where I don't want to say make it difficult to sell because it's not hard at all to get an account on eBay and start selling. In fact, it's very easy. But I do think that being too lazy to even post your photos of the products you're trying to sell, I mean, lazy sellers are usually just bad for business. They're not bad for business, but they don't exactly enhance your profit as well as it could. And I think having some sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Some sort of um, bare minimum to include certain aspects of a product, a card, whatever,
Yeah.
onto a selling site must be made more so than what TCG players do because you gotta have a photo. You
Yeah.
can't post it without it. And I think that's an easy change, an easy fix on TCG player. Yeah, you got a stock photo, even that's fine. But like if you're gonna or if, like if you're gonna try to classify it as near mint, even like you gotta have a photo to show that at least front and back.
Yeah, maybe they'll integrate some like of their feedback system. So maybe
Mm-hmm.
that's some way they can address it is really
Yeah,
crack down and make those accounts doing the work shine.
yeah,
But yeah, gonna be pretty interesting, and I'm sure we won't hear much about it. You know, on the surface level, it's gonna still look the same, but there's gonna be a lot of inner workings, and eBay's working on a eBay Live thing, kind of type of like a whatnot type thing.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah. I
just lots
think.
of changes, and they got the vault coming. All these companies
Mm-hmm.
have a vault
Yep.
and like a live selling block, and
I yeah, I think eBay was looking at what was going on in 2020 with not just the TCG like with Pokemon, but with sports and cards in general as a whole. And they're taking I mean they could easily see what certain products are being sold that fall into certain categories. And I have no doubt in my mind that when they're looking at their sales from 2019 and 2020, 2021, they're seeing some of the profit increases or how much significantly it has increased between those years. They're taking a look at this and they're like, wow, we
yeah,
are seeing something that is untapped by a lot of other businesses. We are seeing something that could be our cash cow, our bread and butter. And I mean, for me, I've always used cards and coins for eBay. Always those two things.
yeah. I feel like they're the most aggressive in like making moves and for the
Mm-hmm.
future.
Yep.
And yeah, my biggest takeaway from this, when you see $300 million moves in the TCG, hobby, it's got to make you feel good for the hobby.
Mm-hmm. That
There's,
means I'm gonna say that means a Fortune 500 company and eBay sees the writing on the wall. They see how many people are passionate about this sort of thing, and they're not let it slip through the fingers. And the only reason why eBay would see that is because of people like you, me, and everybody else in this hobby is pushing the hobby forward with the way people are involved in buying and consuming the products.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Gonna be pretty crazy. But
Yeah.
yeah, I guess with that we should hop into the main topic, though.
Let's
Um,
do it.
More gonna be like opinion based and like I don't know what you say, like optimistic based opinions, because there's not really too much to cover. But so this might be a little shorter one, but you know what? It always happens. So
2 hours later.
so yeah, essentially the only things I wanted to touch on was, of course, Worlds. They did announce the next location for Worlds 2023. We are
Hmm.
finally going to Japan.
First time
So
ever.
yeah, I think with London, was originally planning on being 2020. They
Yeah.
saw the hobby uptick already, and I think it was their plan to really expand. And now with London in the books, they're just really wanting to go for it. And I think from here on out, it's just going to be, all over the place. We might
And
see like a handful, like 5 countries kind of be in the mix, like UK, Japan, US, and some other popular places. But I think it's probably going to be 4 or 5 year cycle before, it comes back to the same place, twice.
well, and if you look at it, whenever they announced the Yokohama location for the next Worlds, I figured like we both understand we both say like how much Japan favors usually their own country when it comes to this sort of thing, when it comes to their own products and marketing and all that. However, I was very surprised to see if you look at where the world's location has been, it is dominated by America in terms of locations. In fact, there's only two locations
Pretty
since
much all,
2004.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like you got basically London and you got Canada there in 2013. So I think they're probably not going to be coming back to America for a few years. I mean, for
Yeah,
real.
and like even Hawaii a couple times, which that's kind of close to Japan, but there's a lot of water
That
between
kind of
them.
makes sense. Well, and everything's expensive. $10 for a gallon of milk or whatever. So I mean, it's expensive to fly out there for anybody.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's gonna. Yeah, I think London, Japan, there may be like another European country in there somewhere.
I would like to see Spain
I
this
was literally
generation.
thinking Spain. And I was surprised that they, almost didn't pick Spain because
Yeah.
of the new games. That's kind of their theme, I think. So a lot of people were wondering about that.
Well, I guess it kind of makes sense still for Japan, right? You take a look at its history, and it's not once ever been in Japan, and it makes sense to go back to home, quote unquote, or where it all started for Pokemon. And I think that's fair. I would like to see Spain though, or Portugal, or wherever the following year though is what I would like to see. We're kind of doing 3 to 4 year rotations. It seems like when it comes to generations, so they only have what 2 more, 3 more at most when it comes to between eras. So
Yeah. And they might be going for just like 3 quadrants of the map. They have the US or North America, then they have kind of in the middle with the UK or some European country, and then they have
yeah,
Japan. So they could be thinking like that, for travel wise. It's a lot of travel either way, but, they could do kind of an Asian area, a European area, and a North American area. And then the only, areas you're missing is like South America or Africa. But, most of their player base is the US, and then Japan is second behind. So,
yeah.
yeah, more focus on those areas for sure. But yeah, so it's gonna be in Japan. It's gonna be really cool. I think they're
You
gonna
want to
go
go?
all out. Do what?
Would you like to go?
I would,
I know.
but
I potentially could go next year. The only issue is I don't think my girlfriend would be happy if I went without her to on an international flight, especially to Japan. Japan is on my bucket list of places to go, 100%. But
yeah,
it would be
it's like my number one, and I'm gonna
yeah.
go someday. But and I already mentioned to her about going. She's like, well, We can't travel with a 2-year-old at that point and on that long of a flight. So
No
I'd
way.
probably wait until the
At least
little
8 years,
one.
probably.
Yeah, the little
Yeah.
one would be able to enjoy it too.
Yeah.
Just
And you also,
imagine. What's that?
I would say if you're shelling out that sort of money, you want the kid to be able to remember it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do all that for her not to remember a single thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's just kind of dumb, but yeah, maybe at least 5 years out, but probably more like 10 or more where they can really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I just imagine if she's in high school and she could tell her friends she's going to Japan.
Yeah.
Like that'd be the dream.
Yeah. I mean, Japan. The biggest issue is, I mean, I would have to. I need to put a lot more research into some of the cultural expectations and how some of the things are just our day to day life by when traveling the country, but. It's such a far afterthought from where I am. It's going to be a little bit before I can go. Maybe within the next 5 years, maybe. But
I follow multiple YouTube channels that have like given up. One guy's from the UK and he's living in Japan and he like
yeah,
vlogs it. Like if things went down and like I had like no family here, I would straight up move to Japan pretty easily, I would think.
yeah,
But yeah, the culture there, like it's just my style, just the way they handle things, and just the way the country is as a whole. I kind of hate, living where I live sometimes because of all that. But yeah, definitely a dream spot. And something changes, we'll let y'all know. So. But yeah, other than that, the biggest things that I wanted to mention too is just the overall system or how they broadcasted the event and what we saw, and
yeah.
a little background to my TCG history because it's kind of sparked that again. I'm kind of flirting with getting back into the TCG, maybe not in person, but the online game. And of
I
course,
mean,
the return of the EXs. We got to talk about those.
I was going to say, there's really no areas you can really go if you want to do it in person. You would have to go to a larger city. I don't think
They
there's
have
anywhere
some
in town.
events here at our card
Yeah.
shops, but yeah, it's not too many, and most people just go like 2 weekends in a row for each pre-release weekend, and then that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was watching the TCG. First off, I bought a Switch, and I've been getting into the games again, preparing for Scarlet and Violet. I'm
But not
trying
Sword
to.
and Shield.
What's that?
But not Sword and Shield.
I am playing through Sword right now because I never
Oh, man.
have. I
You
hated
one
it.
shot and everything?
Trying. I'm catching everything because I want to complete the Pokédex. That's the only reason I'm playing it. Because I have a complete living dex all the way up until Sun and Moon. So I'd like to play through Sword and catch everything, and then play through Arceus before the Scarlet Violet comes out. So
I mean, you're running out of time. You got 3 months. You got less
yeah,
than 3 months.
I'll beat them before then, but I don't know if I'll
Yeah.
catch everything or train everything.
Yeah.
I used to be really into the online battling, even more so than collecting or Pokemon Go, I would say. Like every game that would come out, I'd get into the online battles up until like, Sun and Moon came out. Then it kind of lost its sparkle, but I'd like to get back into that. I played a little bit of the TCG. Me and a buddy in 2012 actually went to a state tournament in Kansas City for Missouri, just because we thought it'd be fun. So we actually went to the state. It was at Collector's Cash headquarters, and that was pretty fun. So yeah, I'd like to get back into it. It's actually a fun card game. It's a little more simple than like Magic, but that's another talking point. The return of the EXs has really got me hyped for that as well, because there's a lot of different mechanics that are going to come back into play. they evolve from Pokemon rather than the like black and white EXs. So that opens up a lot more possibilities for decks. People have to build their deck around evolving the Pokemon. And yeah, a lot of things are getting spiced up for sure.
Yeah, it's I like how they're kind of integrating several eras with this EX style as well. They're integrating the Ruby Sapphire, but they have some things where it kind of make you believe they're also pulling from the most recent EX era, from like XY. It seems
Hmm.
like they're doing a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, incorporating the different stages of the EX and having evolutions needed for the Pokemon. I think is really interesting. Kind of feels like it's going back to its roots a little bit. Like you're actually playing the game where you have to evolve to that Pokemon, and I think
Yeah.
that adds a lot of layers of complexity and strategy going forward within the TCG. I never actually have sat down and played it. I tried to play TCG way back whenever I was a kid, but it was like we did our own way of playing, if that makes sense. We basically had however many cards you're supposed to play, and
Yeah.
you're supposed to flip a coin or whatever, and if an attack hit or miss. And we played a little bit, but I mean, it.
That's the biggest downside with the TCG and Pokemon. It's like a lot of coin flipping.
Mhm.
And that is the biggest complaint. If there was some other system besides the coin flip or so much relying on the coin flip, like if you're paralyzed or not and stuff like that, it'd be a lot more intricate or fun. But
Dice would probably make more sense, but then it adds,
yeah,
but then it becomes starts becoming more similar to, or more complex to other strategy games, other card TCG games. But I think it
yeah,
might be the coin flip because it's easy. It's easy for younger people to deal with. Maybe is my guess.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's simple. They want to keep it simple. And it's a nice mechanic, but I mean, sometimes, you're literally coming down to a 50-50 chance on a lot of
Yeah,
games. And I'm not a fan of playing games and then like leaving things down to chance. I like to, fully flesh out a game and, what happens is my actions. So if you're like super competitive, I feel like Pokemon isn't, you know, the perfect card game. But, obviously it's still thriving as a super competitive game. And yeah, that's what I saw with Worlds. I watched a lot of it. There were some exciting games. Mew, Palkia, and Arceus seemed to be the best decks. I think there was only one Mew deck in the top 8 and it got eliminated. But Palkia and Arceus were really strong throughout the whole thing. And yeah, I've went through and opened all my code cards that I've been hoarding on the TCG online, and I bought, or I didn't buy. I guess you play 5 games and you get a theme deck unlocked, and I've been playing with that theme deck and adding in cards that I got to make it a little better. You have to kind of buy a lot of stuff to like make a good deck, but it's really fun, like starting from the basics and going from there.
yeah. Looking at these EX cards, and one thing that I like about them, we've complained, or I guess we've stated, how we've been frustrated by the quality of the Western product compared to the Japanese product. And it's too early to tell just from these reveals. But one thing that stands out to me with these EX cards is not only the silver border, but you also get like another layer of like hollow foil when it comes to these stars, like these sparkles. Something that you see in a lot of the Japanese cards, something that like just pops at you. And I wonder with this nice silver border, is that going to be true for all EXs? Is that going to be the new legendary border that we're going to see, or just EX border? I'm really interested to see how they incorporate this style into the design of these cards because let's face it, a lot of the V's were hard to look at sometimes. They were just all the
Yeah.
same. Um, I mean, I can say right now that I prefer even the previous EX era with XY. I prefer those cards than almost every single V that has came out.
Yeah, there's some about them. The design is really good. And
Yeah.
I think these new ones are a very nice combination. So, you had the level X cards, you've
Yep.
had the gold star cards that kind of popped off the border. These pop off the border and they remind me of the level X's,
Yep.
and they also remind me of the black white EX cards. Whereas,
Hmm.
they kind of, they not only pop off, but they kind of have the artwork and even more pop off the border. And then on top of that, one thing we had with those cards is like a not transparent area with the attacks, but on these, it's actually transparent where you can see the
Yeah.
artwork. So it's almost like it's a full art card as well. But they didn't overdo it. They still kind of covered it with the attacks. They just made them a little transparent. And I just think
Yeah.
that's a really nice touch.
And I'm really interested to see how they use this style and they incorporate it with their secret rares or whatever they have above EX in this upcoming TCG format. I'm interested to see how they are going to incorporate these all-star styles. So you kind of it feels like you got like a little bit from a lot of different eras with these cards, and I really like that. They're incorporating kind of some of the better aspects of several generations of TCG styles, and I think that is great for not just TCG enthusiasts but collectors. It adds strategy for your TCG players. It adds collectability to your collectors, and I think everybody wins. Honestly, I really do. This is a style where I think everybody wins. It's something where they can improve on the VMAX and then hopefully get rid of the god awful rainbow rares.
Yeah,
And
that's what I hope it is, and I almost see it that way. This is almost like a reset.
yeah,
They're going back to the EXs. They're not going over the top. They're going back to the EXs. They're keeping the artwork, kind of going back to black and white. And then hopefully we'll have some alt arts, and then they don't go too crazy with it.
yeah. So
That's what I'm worried
see
about.
this is what you're gonna hate is that the new VMAX is the terrealization process. So you're gonna have where's the Eevee with the top crown that they have on this page? Where's he at? Where's he at? There he is. Eevee with
I was going to say
uh,
something
this,
about that too. Hopefully
uh,
that's just ignored and they're just they realize that it might not look cool on cards and they don't bring that over.
it's the Eevee has a ring pop. It's like a diamond ring slash ring pop on his head. But you know what? I I will refrain from judgment until I see how they incorporate it into the cards. I think it could look cool potentially. Depending on how they do it, I think it's got to look more like like the V's and V Max look like something somebody made in I don't know just fooling around in Adobe Notepad sometimes, or like rendering a 3D image. Doesn't it feel like that sometimes with the V cards, anyways? So
No,
we already,
well, a little bit, but I feel like, if that is Adobe, I feel like these things on these Pokemon's heads are like paint, you know. It's just bad. It's like they took like a stock paint insert image like of a ring pop or like a diamond, and then they just like put texture on it, made it look sparkly with modern graphics. I don't know.
yeah,
It's just
it's hard
so
to say.
weird.
There's some, I think there's some that can roll with it, and I think if they make it to where, so Eevee's probably going to get one, but I think there's a lot of they can do a lot with that, and the fact that they can also this sterilization process can change typing as well. So in addition to everything we've said with the kind of the homages of different eras and pulling the good aspects from several different eras, I think it can be really interesting how they can incorporate this change of typing into these sterilization process cards. They can really like here's some of the combinations they could do. They could do like some sort of alt art with this sterilization process to where it looks like the Eevee with the ring pop is going through I don't know some sort of I don't know
They have a
diamond cave. I don't know some.
see, it just doesn't even make sense. I think they're just gonna ignore it, but we'll see.
You should have put a ring on it, you know. So
Well, they did, that's for sure.
that was the
A
song that was
giant
coming to my
one.
mind. Yeah, that's the song that was coming to my mind whenever I saw the Eevee.
The Magic has
Uh,
this mechanic called transform where like it has an ability or something where like if it was in Pokemon it'd be like if two Pokemon went to or if two Pokemon got knocked out this turn, transform this Pokemon. And you would take the card out of the sleeve and flip it over, and then there's his transform version on it. So they could even implement something like that. So that's like a transform mechanic in Magic,
yeah,
or like they'll have like there's been sets with like vampires or werewolves where like it'll be a normal human, but if something died on the battlefield this turn, transform it, and then it turns into a vampire or something like that. There's like a trigger of it. So they could
yeah.
implement it that way, but I just hope we don't see it on the cards. I'm sure we will somehow, but I don't know.
I think well they're already doing like kind of like VD Max all arts in some ways. So it's like you can even do an EX alt art like a Koraidon or Koraidon EX alt art because they've already done that with the alt art Vs. So that opens the door for them to naturally be able to do these alt art EXs, in addition to be able to have this sterilization process and everything else. So, I mean, but one thing I'm kind of curious with is I assume this means the end of the V Star era. Is that kind of what this means? Are they going to still incorporate V Stars
Yeah, I
through
would
the end of this?
think. I mean, maybe
Because it
they still do V stars and they just have EX and V stars, but yeah, I would think they would just end the V star.
and yeah, that's kind of what I would think, which is kind of interesting in terms of the V Stars potential collectability, because that means the V Stars, while they had like a whole year print run more or less, if that is the case, it's kind of interesting because it'll kind of be like a snapshot in time when it comes to dissecting the eras of the Pokemon TCG. And I just have I'm hypothesizing what some of that collectability could mean down the road and in the future, if it means really anything significant.
It's just going to
And one,
be like a category. Like that's what the
yeah,
primes, the level X's,
yeah,
and
yeah,
the old
yeah.
EXs have become. It's just going to be a a certain period, like you said. But they'll just be categorized in their own thing and nothing really crazy.
Well, another thing I want to mention, I kind of briefly touched up on it, but do we think that the Japanese company or that like the Japanese part of the Pokemon market or whatever is considering its Western audiences when looking at this quality of the foil? Like, do we think that they're giving us more, or is this just the
Yeah,
style? Like, I've kind of been wondering if they're starting to understand a little bit more of who their consumer base is, and obviously they're always going to give um, the Japanese consumers a lot of great cars and great products. They're always going to do that. But they're also good. But they're also it seems like they're increasing the products that they give Western audience as well. And I wonder if this launch of this new era, if they're also kind of incorporating that some of that aesthetics you see with the Japanese foil and print and design of the cards. Because if they are, I mean, these modern cards could be ultra modern cards since they're obviously being print are going to be really interesting to consider as potential collectability and how the community views them as a whole because of that.
Yeah, I really like them. Um, I just like it all over. You know, when I played in that 2012 state, the EXs, the Mewtwo EX had just came out, and yeah, it was just crazy that the EXs came back at all, even though it wasn't anything like the old ones. So I'm kind of nostalgic for these, and then on top of that, the artwork wasn't too over the top. And then yeah, you have that hollow pattern. It reminds like it's got the star hollow pattern of like the Japanese promos. So
Yeah, exactly.
it
Exactly.
just seems like they're showing the quality. Like why would they show that hollow pattern? Like they just straight up essentially are showing off the hollow pattern in the videos they showed. So yeah, it's really interesting what they mean by that. It
Which,
could just be the Japanese card that they just put into English because,
yeah,
you know, they're at Worlds and they want to show it off. And maybe that's the only thing they designed since they designed Japanese first. So that could, you know, be all it is. But
that'd be
hopefully,
disappointing.
yeah, hopefully we see it. You know, I'm sure this
Yeah.
whole card is going to change by the time it comes out. You know, we don't even have the typing. We don't even have the HP, weakness, resistance, retreat, or anything.
No. I'm
So
gonna say, they've only shown like what 8 Pokemon so far for this generation, something like that. Yeah, I
yeah,
know. I'm seeing a little bit of what some of the circulating theories are amongst some of the Pokemon enthusiasts online. Are they're saying potentially these two might be something to evolve into, or you use these to evolve into another Pokemon.
yeah.
And I think that
There was a Pokemon reveal that was Silzar or something like that.
yeah, some sort of
So
salamander.
that's probably what they were referring to. It's like a salamander, and it looks like he has like a wheel shape on his chest, and his typing is Dragon Normal. And a lot of people think like he can evolve into either one of these legendaries, which makes sense because they're salamanders. So I almost think like yeah, this Pokemon can evolve into either one of the legendaries because it looks just like him. It looks like a evolution. So that's probably what you're hearing with that. But
Well, and what's interesting with that is this is only the second time they've done that with Pokemon, with Melmetal being the first, correct? Any sort of legendary evolution. So they're starting to go back and revisiting the subject because it really adds another layer of complexity.
yeah,
Like it gives you a lot of
there's
variety.
there's others, but not much. Like Sun and Moon had had that. I forgot what they're even called. One of the
See, I thought Melmetal was the first. I guess I'm mistaken. Niantic lied to me.
maybe the first for Pokemon Go, but
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I don't know. I thought perhaps I misread something, but that's whenever Melmetal dropped. That's what I thought I was reading, but maybe it was first evolution for I don't know. But yeah.
I'm trying to think of others, but it was Cosmog. So Cosmog evolves into a middle evolution, and then that middle evolution can evolve into Solgaleo or Lunala, whichever legendary game you picked.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of the same thing, but other than that, I'm trying to think. Maybe it's just blank in my mind, but I guess technically, well, no. I was trying to think of the Reggies, but they don't really combine to evolve into Regigigas. It's just kind
Oh,
of a
see, I'm gonna say it's Gen 7. I am not very familiar with Gen 7 or 8 for that matter. I mean, a little bit of Gen 8, but not too much. Like up until Gen 6 is really where some of my knowledge kind of wanes
yeah.
with some of the Pokemon after Gen 6. But what else was I
Either
gonna
way, it's
say?
cool. I would think like since they said you get the legendaries and they're going to be your companion for the whole game, I wonder if you get like the evolution, like the little guy, and he kind of follows you and helps you around. And then when you unlock things, like he evolves and helps you out even more. Like I feel like that would be a good storyline. Like you're kind of connecting with him and whatnot, all the sappy
Hmm.
stuff.
Yeah.
But we did get a Mimikyu, Lucario, and Magnezone reveal too.
Yeah, and there's different. That's where they incorporated the different stages. Where is that link at that I had?
Yeah, they're showing that it
Yeah.
can be any stage. So it could be a weaker basic Pokemon. It could be a stronger stage 2. The Magnezone artwork is really cool. They're all kind of popping off the card border. And Magnezone has like texture underneath him, in that transparent area. So yeah, I don't know. I'm really excited. I I honestly, even if I don't collect as much modern, like I'm pretty excited to like play some TCG. Like I kind of want to go buy like the theme decks when they come out, and even just to like shoot some games or something like that. Not even really put much time into it. Just kind of get back in a way. Because I've almost had this thought to like go back and make my old deck from 2012 and make a couple more decks from like the eras that I've played in just to have. I think that would be kind of cool. Just to kind of, whenever you want to play a certain era, pick up a couple decks and play with a buddy or something.
Yep. But I don't know. I just don't really have a desire to play it.
We'll have to get some theme decks and play sometime.
Yeah. I mean maybe there's parts of me make it look fun, but other parts I don't know, I just don't really have desire.
But you never really
But
been into card games in general, have you?
no, I haven't. I mean, obviously, well, I mean Yu-Gi-Oh, but that's about where it begins and ends,
Yeah.
honestly.
I love them. I love Magic. I have like 15 decks. I don't really make any new decks because I don't really keep up with it, and it's kind of a money grab in the Magic world now. But yeah, it'd be cool to have the same thing for Pokemon. Have like, I don't know, 4 decks for each era, and like just pick up a deck and play whenever. But
Yeah.
yeah, anything else you wanted to touch on? I mean,
Yeah, there was one more thing that we haven't said yet, and that was how Pokemon really integrated every aspect of their competitive community. I thought that was really interesting, and
yeah,
they really did a good job of marketing and reaching their consumer base in every facet within the competitive community. TCG, Pokemon Unite, Pokemon Go. I mean, they really went. They really hit the ball out of the park. I felt like they had to deliver in a lot of ways, but they didn't have to deliver, right? But I felt like they needed to deliver after several years of there being no worlds and everybody being able to come together for the first time, and the Pokemon base being larger than it's ever have been.
yeah,
And I think they did a really good job. They've really made it to where with Twitch, at least with Pokemon Go, you could get several code links for some items. Um, they made it to where there's live Twitch streams to obviously watch the event itself. They've really made it like how like how football has like the draft and MLB now has kind of like the draft, the All Star Weekend, and all of that in one go.
mm-hmm,
Pokemon is doing the same thing to promote itself and its brand. And I think that's great for the hobby, and I think it's great for Pokemon going forward because it's going to become, it can really make it to where it becomes a celebration of not just these winners and these competitive people who love Pokemon, but really the Pokemon IP in general. And I think that's great for those who are passionate about this hobby and about this IP like we are.
yeah. It's It's really good. Um, I had multiple friends who tuned into the live stream who didn't really know what was happening. Um, I'm not sure how you could really market stuff like that. Maybe like run TV commercials or something, but or maybe
Yeah,
like a YouTube ad. That'd probably be the main thing is like run YouTube ads for the worlds just to get people to
yeah,
tune into your channel or your live stream.
because your parents, maybe some other ways for, I mean, yeah, YouTube is good for when it comes to trying to reach kids as well. But I mean, you're not going to be trying to like advertise on DirecTV, or like
Yeah.
try to go through that route. You're going to be marketing where you're going to people are going to be seeing it. Potential people that might be interested, fringe individuals within the hobby or within other aspects that are kind of similar with the games or whatever. Like that's the people you're trying to reach to gain towards your brand. And when you're trying to become bigger and bigger than what you already are and expand, then marketing for marketing that way is a fantastic way, and having it to where it becomes an annual event where you do it like that consistently year in year out. I mean, eventually it's just going to become a huge celebratory event for Pokemon itself.
Hmm. Yeah, they did a good job on, they had a Pokemon Go event and
Hmm.
yeah, like you said, all the streams, they had 4 streams going, I think. One for Pokken tournament, one for Pokemon Go. They had a, Pokemon Go tournament. This was like the first time I think they had a Pokemon Go incorporated into Worlds.
Yeah, Worlds
Um,
in the past was done at the Go Fest, but since there wasn't a Go Fest. This past one was the first one in 3 years. They made it to where this Pokemon Go Championships was a part of Worlds,
yeah,
and I think that was also trying to advertise the Pokemon Go brand as well.
yeah,
They feel like it needed more advertising, and then giving it such a platform is trying to draw more interest. Because Pokemon Go has been trying to push that for PvP competitively now for quite some time, and I mean, I participated in it. I played in several match tournaments. I had mixed results. Some of the losses being very frustrating, going by uh, charge move priority ties, and I've lost certain title matches because of that, and it really, really angered me. Like I guess I'm just too competitive, honestly, that I lose because of what's essentially a tie. Um, and yeah, I lost several title rounds because of that, and that really, really angered me.
yeah.
And then there's other ways, and there are things I don't like is how with specific IVs, you're not getting the best IVs, you're getting specific IVs to exploit the way the arbitrary CP cutoffs are made.
Mm-hmm.
That I have issues with, and I mean, there's also aspects of scanners that you can use, and I've used maps within Pokemon Go firsthand. The only issue I have with that is I never really cared so much. But when it comes to this competitive gameplay in certain areas, you're able to track down the perfect IV Pokemon for PvP. And when it gets to that high of a competitive level, that absolutely makes a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And I was frustrated because unless you have everybody that can exploit that and have those sort of Pokemon, it gives you an unfair competitive advantage. It's really comparable to, for example, using PEDs in baseball, as far as I'm concerned. And in this context, I'm not saying it. You're like you cheat if you use maps. I'm not saying that because again, I said I've used maps before within the game. That's not the issue I have. The issue I have is you're able to exploit this for your own benefit and be able to use it for your own gain and win competitively. Either everybody can use it or nobody can. That's my issue. It's kind of like what's the thing that you have with competitive gameplay that is considered cheating? Is it trading Pokemon to your account or something like that? Uh, that's like banned. And
Yeah, for like the Game Boy games.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot of like hacking and hacked
yeah.
Pokemon. So yeah, people
Uh,
literally just create like perfect Pokemon.
yeah, the problem is there's no way to prove it, how you caught it. I mean, even if you say, even if you did catch that mon, I mean, you could say I was in the area or something. You know, there's no way to prove it. But anyways, that's my whole issue with Pokemon Go. And then a lot of it is indicative of your network and your phone, whether or not. I mean, if you get just a half second of lag, that's all it is. You've lost the match. And
Yeah.
generally, in a best of three format, the better player would win, but not necessarily. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's great though for the hobby and for Pokemon Go and everybody that's truly passionate about PvP. But
Yeah,
um,
it's cool and it's like a side thing, but yeah, I remember you getting pretty into it when it released and had local leagues and stuff like that or
mhm,
local
yeah,
cups.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, even at release, like I was never excited for that because I kind of saw that, but I only saw that because I was used to like the actual handheld games
yeah,
competitiveness. A lot more complex on there, and yeah, it's not, you know, it's not just tapping and trying to get your moves off in the most efficient way possible.
yeah. I mean that's another thing, and it's a best of three. And while I mean there is definitely, I'm not saying there isn't skill involved because I do believe there is. It's just it's not for me. I'll just say that. Like I've thought about going back to it, but I feel like I'm so far removed. It's like it'll be like starting from scratch again. I just don't have the passion for it.
Yeah, I feel like with that, with the amount of skill involved with competitive Go, um, like yeah, there's skill there, but the I know it's hard to explain. Like what it is, it doesn't really match the skill level. Like the skill level compared to like other like TCG and Pokken and video game competitiveness. Like the skill level is pretty, mild compared to those. But
Yeah,
also, like it would be fine if it was, you didn't have all those other problems. Like you can't have that super competitive game when you rely on stuff like that, like charge move, ties, or priorities. It just makes for like I don't know, kind of like the same thing I was talking about with the Pokemon TCG. The only downside being a coin flip. It's like, yeah, it's really cool, but like the only downside is like something very dumb. So it's just kind of one of those things.
yeah. I'm gonna say fun story of one of the first mega tournaments I participated in when PvP came a thing in Chicago. This was in was 2019, I think. So I was up for about 23 hours straight at whenever this tournament began, or something like that. No, it was like I got like 4 hours of sleep. We got up at 5 a.m. to do some Wahafu raids in Chicago. Um, did like 60 raids in a few hours. This was before like invite raids, so you had to do everything in person.
What was
So we
the
had
what was the raid boss then?
Castalia.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's Cresselia. I did get it perfect, and I got like a 98 shiny, but it was just like Hafu raids going. We had our driver who was driving like a bat out of hell, and with this big man of 12 people just driving like a maniac through the streets of Chicago. And anyways, whenever this big PvP tournament started, ended up being a 7 hour event from about 7 p.m. and I was there to like two a.m. because I wanted to see who won, and I participated in it. And because I was sleep deprived, I ended up only winning like three of my 8 matches, and it was frustrating, especially because I participated in a regional earlier that day, and I did so well,
Yeah.
and I just completely bombed, and by the end of it, I was just burnt out, and that was really the beginning of the end when it comes to me playing. That was just how much of it is kind of like I had this great team, I thought, and I just couldn't win anything. It was just frustrating. But
Yeah.
seven
I
hour
think I
event,
think we need
yeah,
a
but
whole another podcast for the competitive side of Pokemon.
yeah, I
So
mean it was cool. I mean everybody. So like I'm a part of like the I guess it's basically a defunct secret 100 million XP group. It's not really secret anymore, but like whenever 100 million XP was a huge deal. I mean it had everybody there. Simply Moxie, King V, Brian. It had a Hazard. It had, oh man, it was basically, it had Fleece King, all those folks were there. And I remember we all got a photo towards like the very beginning of it. And I just remember walking home or walking back to our hotel at like 2 a.m. in the streets of Chicago, just absolutely brain dead.
So
Like
you should have took an after photo and
yeah,
compared them.
like look like strung out, have like my eyes like these blood red from all this, and you just I don't know if you've ever seen like hanging out the dead with Nicolas Cage. Well, in this movie, he just kind of like he can't sleep, and he's just kind of walking through the streets of New York and just like almost
Like wigging
like a
out.
zombie. Yeah, like almost like a zombie, and it's kind of how I felt like walking through the streets of Chicago at like 2 a.m. And it was, I mean, it was a good time. I enjoyed that time. It was just being up for like 24 hours and being brain dead and getting your ass handed to you isn't exactly what I would call a good evening, but it was
Yeah.
still cool seeing everybody and all that. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Bringing it back, I can't really relate. I didn't watch any of the Pokemon Go. I turned it on just to see like how they had it set up, watched like
yeah,
30 seconds of it, and then yeah, pretty much all I watched was the TCG and the video game. Um, but yeah, they, like we were saying, bringing it back as well. They did a good job getting it out there. The only complaint I have is that we didn't see more, which, granted, they can't have like hundreds of streams going. But essentially, for all the events, they just had a feature table. So, like, whoever was doing good or whoever they thought might have the best chance, they like got to play on the feature table, and that's the one that was like streamed and then
yeah.
commentated on. So, and you got to see that whole match, which was really cool. But
I mean, I
yeah,
think it's amazing where it's came from. That was one of the first mega tournaments that I remember seeing with Pokemon Go, and it was at this bar that was probably shouldn't have fit 100 people. Well, there was like 250 people just sweating it out, shoulder to shoulder, well before COVID restrictions. Oh my God. People were literally like, excuse me, like, oops, oops, ooh, okay, oh, okay, sorry. And
yeah,
then you were
but
literally shouting, King Pitbull Rick, or Please King, Simply Moxie, hey! And you're just,
I'm sure it smelled great too with everyone staying up for like 20 plus hours.
everybody, sipping on their bangs, their reigns, whatever caffeine they were sipping on then. And, oh my God.
Yeah, I
I,
can only imagine.
mm, let me say before it was definitely. I mean, looking back, it was fun. Like it was fun reflecting back to it, but it was tortuous being involved with that and just being brain dead. I think I had 2 Red Bulls and like I don't drink. I obviously I've been like now I was in a bar and I was sober the whole time, but it was just like oh my God, like that was a situation. Whenever I did used to drink, I would have been shit faced by the time 2 a.m. happened
Yeah,
because I just wanted to get out of there. And I've been playing. Here's my Charizard.
I bet.
But yeah, all right.
Yeah, they just need to show more. And yeah, I think Pokken tournament might be phasing out here soon, but
Yeah,
yeah, just show us more. It like I said in the beginning, it got me looking into the TCG again. I might be doing some videos on that. But yeah, it's a cool thing. Really excited for what's coming in the next couple years for sure.
yep. This is a great time to be in the hobby and great time to be. It's still buyer's market, people.
Shit.
So,
All right. Well, with that, I guess we should hop into the questions. We're making pretty good time. Not
hmm
overdoing it. I like it. What you got for a question?
all right. Do you have one to go first?
Um,
Or are
yeah,
we
I
just rolling with
guess.
my question? Because my question, I think, was going to lead into our quote unquote game. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So mine was, I tend to have a question that's branched off our main topic. So I feel like when we go through the main topic, it kind of touches on parts of it.
hmm
But my question was going to be, have you ever got into the TCG or video games, like on the competitive side, will, like me watching these events got me back into it, and it finally made me do the jump to buy the Switch. Um, so yeah, that's kind of where I'm coming from. Like, have you thought about doing that? How would Pokemon like capture your interest to like get involved with those, or like what would it take? You know?
So yeah, I mean, obviously I did Pokemon Go, and I've considered going back to it. There's still a lot of people within the community that still play, and I have a friend that plays that's pretty into it, and I don't know. I think a lot of better things would have to. I mean, things are pretty calm for me in my life, but like I'm also looking forward to potentially changing careers, like going back to school. So it's like that's kind of where my mind's at. A part of me is not letting myself kind of get too involved because I'm trying to focus on my own personal self in the future. Now, playing Pokemon, I feel like I mentioned before, my main thing is the gyms. That's how I get competitive. I get intense sometimes with that. But yeah,
I feel like
I
I have the question because I feel like you would enjoy like the handheld games. Like
yeah,
if you got into like breeding Pokemon, shiny hunting in the games, it's a little more strenuous than Pokemon Go, but like
yeah,
it's really fun to like, Pokemon Go, you kind of just have to go play to build a team. You don't
yeah.
really have any control over IVs. Like
Hmm.
in the Pokemon handheld games, you can like craft what you want. Like it takes a long time where like one Pokemon might take, days. Especially breeding could take weeks to breed the perfect Pokemon that you want. Like you can change the natures and pass on traits from the parents, and it's just so in depth. And I think like you specifically would really like it if you got into it, but it's kind of a big jump to like get into it. So I was kind of
Yeah,
curious like how people could do that, because I feel like the people who play those games have been playing like competitively for a while. I started with Diamond and Pearl myself when I got back into the hobby. Those were the next games that came out, the OG Diamond and Pearl. And yeah, me and like five, six of my other friends all got it, and we made teams and we'd battle after school at the park and play Ultimate Frisbee. So like that was like what got me into it, and kind of stuck with me. But I don't know what it would take to get new people into that, you know?
yeah. I mean, my whole thing is so I love playing retro games. To me, one of the easiest thing is handheld games, but that I enjoy playing. And my biggest thing is I feel like I should be productive on my days, on the time that I have available for free, either physically productive or mentally productive. So a lot of times I found it difficult to be guilt free playing games. As it gets colder and it gets winter, that's when I'm least guilt free, and I can just like spend days playing a game. Like, oh, there's 10 inches of snow on the ground. Okay, I guess I'm just staying in. I'm just gonna play games all day, you know.
Yeah.
uh,
That's me
but
too. Like I go hard either way. Like
yeah,
I really have
I
to limit myself on what I pick up or start playing because
yeah
I go way too hard. Pokemon Go and
yeah
everything.
yeah, and I mean, I guess I still play the Pokemon Go, and I know that's kind of reaching. I mean, don't think I'll ever fully quit, obviously, and there's still gyms that are popping up locally that I can get gold on, and I mean, I don't even bother with a lot of the research quests hardly. I just play the game, I don't even bother doing the quest anymore because I really don't care. Like I've reached everything I need to in the game, and I'm just kind of waiting for the next level increase. So, but
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun. Me and one of my other friends is gonna play Scarlet and Violet pretty heavily. Like all I want to do on Sword and Shield is like try to complete the Pokédex, and then just catch the unique variants on Arceus. Um, But yeah, I really want to get back into Scarlet and Violet, and I think I'll be playing those quite a bit for
Yeah,
sure.
I played Arceus quite a bit. I didn't quite beat the game. I was like, that's just how it is with me. I can go hard and then just lose interest, and that's essentially what happened. It was a great game. I got like probably 80% done. I
Yeah.
almost beat the like the whole game, and I was just saying, you know, like I just kind of like I played it, I loved it. Didn't quite see the ending how I could, and yeah, I wasn't. I don't know. It was a great game, and but I'm excited to play this game, and will I beat it fully? I don't know, but I'll definitely play it 100%.
Yeah, Pokemon games for me, I mean, they don't even start until you beat the game because I'm just in
Yeah,
it for the post game stuff. But
yeah.
yeah,
I never bothered 100%ing things because I just lose interest. I would get to like 99% and just, I'm good enough. I've lost interest and let's spend my time doing something else.
yeah. Well, what you got for a question?
Okay, so my question is, what are you buying when you finally get your code for a special delivery Charizard?
Well, if I get a code, I still haven't got one, which
Neither have I.
I do think everyone who signed up should get a code based on like how many are already out there and how much longer we
Well,
have left.
then you get the memo. It's all going to the true entrepreneurs that have 500 bot accounts and they have 60 of those damn cards already.
Yeah,
But
a lot of people on Facebook, flaunting 50 plus of them. So I thought Pokemon was kind of cracking down on that, but something slipped through the cracks.
yeah,
But yeah, right when this was announced, I actually looked and it was really close to when it was announced, but they had these character artworks and they released like t-shirts and hoodies and even like prints on canvas. It was like each one of the kind of like key characters. I think they had red, blue, in, and a couple others. Really cool t-shirts, and it had like the character's main Pokemon behind them. Um, yeah, I really need to up my shirt game here soon, so I was gonna look at that. But if you look at a lot of stuff on there, it's a lot of things are sold out still, and I'm sure they're trying to keep up on the stock. I do see now that I'm looking, they have Silver Tempest booster box and
mm,
Pokemon Center Elite Trainer box on there.
I'm checking out this Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet double pack. Ooh, that looks nice.
Yeah, right now, as of speaking these words, you can pre-order the Silver Tempest booster box for 143 bucks. You can also pre-order the Pokemon Center Elite Trainer box for Silver Tempest for $49.99.
I'm kind of disappointed they don't have any. So for the Arceus game, they had that special promotion with the pre-order with the Arceus plushie. I regret not getting that. I thought about it and I was like, I don't know. I for some reason I just didn't. I should have. But anyways, yeah, they don't have like a special like with this double pack like a Koraidon or a Miraidon plushie or anything like that or even like a promo,
Mm-hmm.
and like and then I mean,
Yeah,
I mean,
there's nothing really that stands out like that. I mean, if I got a code, I'd probably buy just some packs or those T-shirts if they came back in. Um, I'm not sure if like you could use the code to pre-order. I probably wouldn't risk it. Like pre-order Silver Tempest and get it in later. I'd probably buy something that I could get shipped right away. But one thing I do want to note, though, this kind of goes back to our news segment. That's the
shit,
Pokemon
the
Center
Arceus in
Elite
stock.
Trainer box has some Lugia sleeves as well as Vulpix sleeves.
Ooh.
So yeah, they're
The
kind of interesting there. They have the Vulpix sleeves, of course, which we could expect, but they have Lugia sleeves in the Elite Trainer box as well. So I think this is the first time where we have two types of sleeves.
yeah, I would I just found what I would get. I would get this Arceus plush. I think Yeah, 100%. It looks kind of derpy though.
I would look at the plushies for sure, and then
That's usually where my go-to is. I don't even have a majority of them out. I got my Halloween Piplup plushie with the donut. That's like the only one I actually got out. But the main reason why that is because I have a long hair cat, and I swear to God, whenever I was moving out of my last place, there was hair everywhere in every nook and cranny. So
yeah, I bet.
I don't really want a lot of these plushies out because his hair once it gets on something, it just sticks to it. But there's also the new Gen starter plushies. I think I might have to get this Prigatito because that is a cat.
I do like the small plushies. Like they have mini plushies that are like real small. I got the unknown N and the P for my initials, but
Okay.
they have a lot of these little plushies, like just little 6-inch plushies of a
Mm-hmm.
lot of Pokemon. They might have almost every Pokemon now, because I mean they're just coming out with these like every time there's a release on Pokemon Center, they throw up like 5 to 10 of these mini plushies, and there's so many of them now. I wouldn't be surprised if they're 80% through like the National Pokédex for these little things.
Yeah, I like these little cutie ones, or whatever they're called.
Yeah, sitting cuties.
Plushies. Yeah, sitting cuties, and then there's the Safari Pikachu plush, only $20.
Yeah.
Yeah, the plushies is where I go. Usually, that's always cool. I It would be kind of neat to have all the Pokemon, but then just like imagine the room with that.
Yeah, if I had like room and like lots of money, each one is like $10. I'd just buy all the little ones and just fill it right up. I
Yeah, I mean, some of these they have these character shirts.
mean, you're looking at like $10,000, but worth it.
Yeah, I mean, the cool thing is with some of these Pokemon, not all, but you can almost always find a buyer for some of these too. You might not. I mean, don't intend to make money or anything, but you
Yeah.
could probably find somebody like maybe a dollar or two cheaper.
Looks like they do
But
still have the shirts I was looking for. They have the N light blue relax fit crew neck, and it's got a Reshiram on it. It's got N and
mm,
Reshiram, so I'd buy that for sure. That's $24. That'd be it right there. They have the Terry crew neck shirts, but those are like $50.
Terry Crews or the Terry
Terry
Crew neck.
Terry crew neck, but I'm sure Terry could rip through one of these. But it's got the same design. It's a nice long sleeve and like high quality. But yeah, those are $50.
Oh, they have this. They have this. It doesn't look like much, but it's this Pikachu and Friends Pokemon Nature. It's like this. It's this shirt, and it looks like it's literally a bunch of shrooms on it. It's like all the shroom Pokemon. You got Parasect, you got Shroomish, you got what's the evolution of Shroomish? It's or no, it's not Breloom.
It's not
Yeah, it's not
a
Breloom.
Moongus.
Yeah. And then you got Bioplume, and then I forget what the other. I don't know. It's like, yeah, brah.
They knew what they were
Tri
doing.
Yeah, 100%. Like you can't tell me the way this is designed that they don't know what's going on here with all these shrooms. Like, oh, it's just being festive in nature. No, it's not.
Yeah, that one's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, but
But yeah, I guess we can move on to the last section of the podcast. We're changing up the game once again. Calling this one,
yeah.
How Low Can You Go?
Yeah, so this is kind of a continuation from the previous episode. Nathan and I have been interacting with the update of the special delivery Charizard. And I kind of thought it was a hot take. I didn't think it would. I thought it might get under 50, but I also thought it. We still didn't know a lot of information.
Yeah.
But since then, we are seeing a lot of these so-called entrepreneurs, quote unquote, with all these special delivery Charizards. So obviously, they use probably hundreds, maybe even thousands of bots to accumulate that many. But in terms of sold, I think you can buy the code for as little as $55. So if that's the case, you can also um, they just are like 20, $25. So you're
Mm-hmm.
basically looking at like 80, 70, 80 now they're going for, and we're not even 50% through this rollout. I think under 50 is almost a certainty. Um,
Yeah, so we're trying to guess how low it can go for the special delivery Charizard. Should we have it
yeah,
where if it goes below? I mean, it has to be below for like a solid week before we determine it. But like, what's going to be your mark, your $10 range?
I think we're going to see it between 40 and 50. I think it could even potentially go lower. But I am going to say between 40 and 50. That's going to be my guess is where we're going to see it bottom out. It might. So I know this is a better artwork. It has a better story. Well, I guess the artwork is kind of debatable, but the Charizard Illustrator that they had released a few years back, that card, a lot of people are speculating is going to go through the roof, and it might not, but some people got it at like $5, and like it might get up to like 40 or 50, in which case you made a hell of a return on it. But
Yeah.
but I think worst case scenario or best case scenario, depending on what your perspective is, you see it fall to that level.
Mm-hmm.
That's the worst case scenario for this card in terms of where it's going to bottom out at. So you're looking at like $20,
Say, I don't
or
even
between
know.
20 and 30. But
I don't even know where mine would be. I was, I was gonna say 40 to 50
mm,
because I think it
that
will break the 50. But I think at 50, like so many people are gonna scoop them up.
Yep, because this card. So one thing to consider when looking at potential good cards to pick up, a lot of people kind of. This is a card that a lot of people are going to be going after, right? But a lot of people kind of don't realize that. Don't think about like trying to find the card that's going to go 50 to 100. Think about the card that might be $5, $10 or whatever that can go from $10 to 30 or $40. That's a
Mm-hmm.
much easier gain to see happening and very realistic in a lot of situations. Well, this is one of those cards where if it goes down to like say 30 or 40, I would swoop up because I think eventually it's going to get back up to 100, even with how many are out there. Sealed, I
Yeah,
should say.
it's like
Sealed, at
a
least.
no brainer, like $50 to $60 card. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be hovering a little above that. For the low point though, I guess I'll say 30 to 40, just because you have 40 to 50. I think it's gonna go pretty
Oh,
low.
did you just prices right me?
Well, if you have a $10 range, it's kind of
Yeah.
hard, but
Well, I mean, I think it could go. Okay, so I'm
I'll
going to
I'll
say 40 to
say
50, but I
like
think it's possible it's between 20 and 30. Basically, the cost of the car, just like how Special Delivery Pikachu was for the first couple weeks or month or whatever after it released, when nobody really thought about it, and it was basically the equivalent of buying it from like buying the 20, 25, whatever you needed to be able to buy it. And I think that is the low of low that it could go. But I don't know if we're going to see that in 12 weeks. I think it's possible, but I think I'll go with 40 to 50. But I want there to be a caveat that I believe it could go between 20 and 30.
if it goes lower, you're out.
Uh, I'm just saying. I'm the one that said I was going to go below 50 last episode. Just saying, and it's definitely cruising towards that. Um,
Yeah, I still believe that it'll be worth more than the Bidoof at some point, which was, last episode's discussion.
yeah.
But, it was open ended, if it's going to be this year, if it's going to be 10 years. I just said, the Charizard will outshine in the long term, no matter how long it is. But yeah, I do think this one still has some more dipping to go. I mean, it seems like the codes are getting less and less, but I think that's just because a lot of people got them and the excitement's worn off. So,
Oh
not a
Jesus,
lot
have
of.
you taken? I'm sorry.
What's that?
Go ahead. Have you
So,
taken a look at what the special delivery Charizard's going for, or Bidoof? It was around 225. It's being pushed to 250 to 300 now.
huh. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
I that might be the buy I should make when we go to KCCon. Because I'm sure I can
Yeah.
find one for like I'm sure I can get one for 220 in KCCon. Hopefully, it's still 3 weeks away. Jesus, I'm getting a little worried now. I should have got one of those 140.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just interesting. Like I think Charizard will outshine, but it's got a little more to go. I don't think it can possibly get below $30 in my opinion. Because you're talking like $20 in merchandise, so you're valuing the card at like $10. So yeah, that is like the low of all lows in my opinion. Is 30. Realistically, I think it's more 40 because you're essentially valuing the card as 20, which is like normal price for like cheap end promos that are decent Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
The cheap end promos are $5, but it's a Charizard for like a Charizard that's printed even as much as like the ancient Mew. Like that could easily be a $20 Charizard card if we knew it was printed as much as the ancient Mew.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm leaning more towards like 40 to 50, in my opinion. Um,
Well, even I would say even the ancient Mew, I think in due time it might be a little bit, but I think sealed. Don't be surprised in the next 10 or so years you see the sealed ancient Mew go over $100. That's that. I know you said something a little bit different, but that's my opinion on it. But maybe I'm too biased because, as we stated, that is one of my favorite cards of all time. But I just think it's possible because I just know during the pandemic, it was like you can get like 10 or so 15 sealed. Now it's double that. And I think we're seeing an accelerated rate of breaking these cards out. So we'll see. But
yeah, everyone wants one, and even if Special Delivery Charizard was printed to oblivion, everyone would want one because of the story and
hmm
all that. But yeah, I think 30 will be impossible to touch just because you're valuing the card at $10 and realistically like 40. When you get down to 40, I mean you're valuing the card at $20 and that is a price point where people will just be scooping them up just because.
hmm
So I'm going to
no,
really be watching and if they dip below 50, I'm going to buy a couple of them, but I mean if
yeah.
they keep going, I'm just gonna every time it drops by a couple bucks, I'm gonna buy one probably. Just
I
kind
think
of
you're
cost average.
honestly, I think one of your best moments to buy would be once it hits that final week to a couple weeks after or so. I think there's other variables to consider, like maybe people there'll be like a rush to get it if they didn't get a code. So it might be even a few weeks after that, but you'll within a month or two of its final week rollout of these codes, I think you'll see it bottom out. Um, and that's when you would be the good time to buy, and that's when it could be potentially 30 and under. And I think it is possible for it to go below 30, but I'm not going to bet on it.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be sooner rather than later because people
It's going to
who
quickly recover. It's going to quickly recover 100%, and we're approaching Christmas.
people who don't have a code now, I think they're already starting to like sweat it because I mean this goes on for so long that it's essentially old news now already. We have
Yeah.
the Charizard Premium Collection coming out.
Yeah.
So
That's,
that's
that's
going to
the hot
drive it
thing
down
now.
even farther, but also people are going to stop hearing about people getting their codes because it's old news. It's not worth posting about anymore. And people are going to wonder, like, well, I still don't have my code. So I think, the panic for people who didn't get a code will be any day now, maybe right now. And that is going to be the bottom. So we might be in the bottom right now. But I
Well,
think
we're
it's
we're
got a
not
little more
even.
to go. But
I mean, we're not technically quite even halfway through this rollout, though. Is the thing. While everything you said is definitely plausible, I don't think you're going to see people getting antsy just yet because there's still a lot of time left. I think as it approaches week 9, 10, 11, you might start seeing that. It maybe, I don't know. It's just you're definitely going to see it bottom out, I think it's going to be a little bit different than what we're used to for, say, the set releases. How wait 3 months or so to buy raw for certain like the chase cards from a set that you might want for the prices to kind of dip a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, I think this card is going to behave a little bit differently than that, and it's really, really hard to gauge how it's going to perform when it comes to guessing what it's going to bottom out at.
Yeah. Yeah, the biggest thing I go off of is just valuing the card. Whatever the value is, minus $20. Like that's the value because you have to buy it for $20 worth of product. So yeah, I see it being a $20 card if the price to buy one is 40, and yeah, I think that's the point where people just buy them just because. But even if they already have one, so. But
Yeah,
yeah, I
no, I
guess
would
we
just get
should
them
have.
sealed. Yeah, to say I would just buy them sealed. Don't even open them because everybody's going to be sending this in to be graded. Keep them sealed in a very well uh, heather controlled environment, and just keep them like that.
Yeah.
And any of them you get graded, I mean, you'll be able to see if it's worth getting graded or not pretty easily. If there's a print line, nope, just keep it sealed, where it's going to hold more value that way.
Yeah,
But
I would keep it sealed if it had a defect like that, but I'm not big on those keeping them sealed in the little plastic. It's actually better to like put it in a sleeve and the card saver protection wise because it doesn't slide around. But yeah,
yeah,
if
and
there's
the
something
plastics,
noticeable though, then yeah,
yeah, and I say that's why I never opened my Arceus cards, the Japanese promos, because every single one had a fat hit line on it,
yeah,
which apparently was common with those promos, which is unfortunate. But
yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, we cranked out an hour and 40 minutes or so. So guess we'll call it there. We did kind of meet up, and we have a long list of topics that we're going to be touching on, and we'll be cranking out some episodes in the next year.
yep,
But
we got like over 50 or not 50 topics. Well, it's like 30, I think, that we have without even any special news dropping. That's just like what we have planned out. So
yeah, we should add in the competitive nature of Pokemon, or differences in Pokemon avenues like the TCG, Game Boy games, Go battling, something like that. I feel like that could be explored as a topic.
you know what? I think it'd be great if we could potentially find somebody that's into the Game Boy game competitively, because or even if you have an interview with somebody with maybe even somebody involved in Pokemon Go or TCG or anything like that.
Yeah, for sure.
But
All right, guys. Well, we'll wrap it up. Thanks for listening, and yeah, we'll see you in the next one.
yep, next one we're gonna be gearing up for KCCon, getting pretty stoked.
Yeah, for sure. All
Well,
right. See ya.
peace.